Jackson? Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. All right, I would like to call to order the Monday, April 18th meeting of the City of Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Moore.
Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Cord.
Here.
Alder Thomas.
Here.
Alder Goforth.
Here.
Alder Groupie. Here. Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for your pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 4th?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Did anyone have any corrections or additions?
I have
Alderman
one correction on page 7. I had mentioned that we had 2 openings on transit, and it got listed as 2 openings on landmarks.
I was going to mention that because I knew we didn't have
Yeah,
land
no, we're
landmarks.
good there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have 2 appearances tonight. The first one is Richard Bernstein, who will be speaking to us virtually. Rick?
Hello.
It's all yours.
Can you hear me?
We generally like to try to keep these to 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, I'll be less than that.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to bring the council's attention.
Could you hang on just a
yeah.
minute? Can you turn that up, Jackson, a little bit? Yeah. Sorry, we're having trouble hearing you, so we're just going to turn it up a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to bring the council's attention to something that I had learned recently, and that there's a federal government effort to remove derogatory terms from approximately 660 different locations and place names across the country, in particular to the word squaw. And I know the council was in favor of changing the name of Squaw Bay, but I also was hoping that the council would address a couple different street names here in Monona. One, I believe, does use the word squaw as a street name. But I'd also point out that Winnequa is a combination of the word Winnebago and squaw. So in that regard, I think that should be given consideration as well. I know this might be a big issue because it is such a long street and there's so many residents border the street. And I did think that perhaps an easy way to find a new name for it might be just to use the word Winnebago. So I just wanted to bring that up as an issue, and I was hoping the council would focus some attention on that.
Thank you very much. We have one more appearance tonight, Ron Bensley. Ron, if you'd like to come up to the podium.
Can you hear me okay? Mayor O'Connor, members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to present my comments on the South Winnequa Road project. I offer these comments on behalf of myself as well as my wife, Jenny Bensley. I wanted to bring the make the council aware of possible impacts, likely impacts to our property due to the road bike project. We live on 713 Moigar Road. The west side of our lot is located on Winnequa Road. Our house is immediately north of a number of homes that are being impacted by this project, the Whitties, the Molmans, the Walshes. Because of the limited right-of-way on our side of the road, and because the city was seeking temporary easements in the properties to our neighbors to the north, we had concerns about possible impacts to our property, so we reached out to the engineers in March to ask them what kind of impacts they anticipated At that time, they told us that there would be no real impacts. They weren't looking for any kind of easement on our property. And they shared with us their design. Looking over the design, we thought that it was likely it was on our property. So we shared with them a survey we had done in 2020, and they agreed that their design was on our property. So they got back to us and said, no, there would be a need for a temporary easement in order to accommodate the sidewalk next to our property. So we've been working with Josh Stratka and Dan Stefani on trying to find solutions for this. And the first pass they made on this was to suggest that they blend the slopes on the side of our yard to match the new sidewalk. Particularly in the southwest corner of our yard, this type of approach is going to lead to a dramatic reshaping of the yard to have a slope that could be as much as 1:5, 1:4. And we feel that would be a serious negative impact to our property. It would be a maintenance issue. It would be, usability would become much less on our property. We also are concerned about drainage, erosion. So we mentioned this to Dan and Josh, and they agreed that that could be a serious problem in the southwest corner of the property. So they suggested, well, maybe a wall. We could put in some kind of retaining wall there. It would either be a privately owned retaining wall on our property, or potentially could be a city-owned wall, but then the city would need to get a permanent easement to place the wall there. So I just wanted to make you aware of the issue and to ask for your support in finding a fair and equitable solution to this. Working through, we would very much like to see a wall there rather than reblending of the slopes. And we would like the city to give serious consideration to helping us with the monetary cost of, addressing the impacts that will occur on our property. So thank you for listening to my comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And I don't think we have any other appearances today, so we will move on. There is no public hearing. There is no consent agenda. I'm going to move on to the unfinished business, to the new business first, so that we can consider the borrowing resolutions, so that Jeff can get on the road, because he has to get back to the Milwaukee area tonight. So if you want to move to, under new business, item 2B, consideration of resolution 22-4-2563, authorizing the issuance and sale of $3.4 million in taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2022C, put forth by the Finance Director, and this is starred for immediate approval.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second. Mark?
Yeah, just a quick thing before Jeff talks. So last meeting, we authorized Jeff to start negotiating. Jeff is back with the final numbers dealing with the bondholders. The first one is for $3.4 million. It's a change to $3,405,000. Looking for that. And second, for refinancing of a band, a TIF band. So it's a tax lien note.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. Appreciate you taking it out of order. I am heading back to the office, by the way, Mayor.
I'm impressed.
Work to do for Monona when, if you'll sign one of those resolutions for us. So, again, this is refunding of the last remaining note for TID 9, and it's taxable, of course, because we were wise enough to put developers agreements in place which guaranteed certain values in that district, and that certainly has expedited the growth in that increment, and also with that the growth in the revenues that we're accruing from that development. So this is self-supported debt, even though it's issued as a general obligation. The majority of our debt, we put into revenue bonds last fall, in February, $11.8 million. So this ties up the rest of TID 9. If you'll take a look at the sheet I passed out, it's a $3,405,000 issue with a purchase price of $3,325,440. all costs in, true interest cost of 4.27%. If you go down below, you'll see our fine AA plus stable rating from Standard & Poor's, and you'll see the yields or prices at about 265 in year one, out to a 435 in 2035. With that, I want to just kind of dovetail into what Alder Wood said earlier about reinvestment rates. This is an incredible investment if you have core dollars. For other municipalities out there, you can invest in local government securities. When you look at the yields, of course they'd have to be core dollars because you were, as an example, if you looked at year 5, 2027, you would be getting a yield on your dollars of 3.45%. As you know, we're in a tax-exempt organization. You won't pay taxes on that income like an individual would or a business. So my point being is, as you're looking at, and Mark and I have had this chat, you're looking at certain reinvestment and looking to try to increase your dollars that you're generating from investment. Here's something that's out yielding most everything else that's out there. And the banks are going to take some time to follow, even though the feds are going to have 3 or 4 rate hikes this year. So yes, you will start, Doug, to get more investment income, I think as everybody realizes, but this is something that's usually overlooked in terms of investment in core dollars. So just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah.
Okay. All in all, still not terrible rates, although the market certainly is in a topsy-turvy kind of position. Every day we're losing 3 to 4 basis points. In other words, yields are going up by 3 and 4 basis points. They moved 5 this afternoon after this was priced this morning already. So I can tell you tomorrow morning you won't get these rates. You're going to be 4 to 5 basis points higher throughout the scale. And we've been seeing that happen for the last 3 months, 4 months almost. Trend looks like it's going to continue for some time. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on this particular issue.
Questions, anyone? Alder, go for it.
Yeah. Thanks for expeditiously working on this, Jeff. I know those rates are creeping up and they will continue. I was just curious of what our annual debt service will be on this.
Yes, the annual debt service is going to be right around 300. Not the first year; it's a little bit less. What we did is we tied it into the remaining revenue stream from TID number 9.
Okay.
So we looked at TID number 9 and we said, okay, we've got revenue bonds outstanding, the 11.8 million we put in place, and then based on where we were in terms of that remaining increment and the development that's coming online, it left us with about $400,000 in some years, a little more, 400-some thousand in available revenue for debt service.
Okay.
So what we did is we structured this issue so that the debt service principal came under that target amount. So not only will you have enough to pay on an annual basis, you're going to be dropping some dollars each year that's unused into that TIF fund, which will basically be your debt service fund. In all likelihood, you're going to call some of this debt early in years to come because you're going to have the revenues, and by law, once you get enough revenues to call debt, you really have to call the debt, and we can't keep the TID open any longer than is economically feasible.
Right.
But that's a great question.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay. Doug?
So the amount of this should actually be $3,405,000, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then I will move. Currently says $3,400,000, so I'll move to amend that any place that number is used, that $3,405,000 be substituted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Groupie. Aye. Alder Moore.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Clerk.
Aye.
Alder Thomas.
Aye.
Alder Goforth.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will move on to the other item that Jeff is here for. Item C, consideration of resolution 22-4-2564, authorizing the issuance and sale of $6 million in general obligation promissory notes Series 2022B, put forth by the Finance Director, and this is also started for immediate approval.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay.
Yes, this one is just the capital borrowing, it's just for the 2022 capital borrowing budget. And we did add on the $2 million we talked about last time for repayment or saving.
Thank you, Mark. Now, you can see from the comparison of yields in the bottom that this, of course, is a tax exempt issue. Prices certainly are higher because, of course, the interest income to the investor is exempt from federal taxes. These are public purpose projects, which allows us to issue them as tax exempt. We have $6 million. We have a purchase price of $6,072,379, which is a net premium, of course, of $72,379. And after all of that is factored in over the time that we're going to pay it out against the principal at those yields, you get a 3.17% all-in cost. I looked at one of our issues last year just to give you some kind of an idea, and I don't want to pour salt in the wounds, but it's about a 219. So you can see that obviously rates have gone up over the last year, and I'm pretty sure they're going to continue to go up through 2022. But all in all, still a pretty darn good interest rate for as long as I've been in this business. But I think you also know we have some debt, 10-year notes outstanding that were well under 1.5% all costs in. So as we said earlier, we've got some great projects done with those monies, certainly well ahead of the inflationary rate, and even this is well ahead of the inflationary rate. So get them done as quickly as we can, and all in all, I think it was an opportune time to borrow those funds and to get our improvements underway. So happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Anyone? Alder Moore?
Yeah, can I just, I know that Mark, or it was brought up the last time this came up, but can you remind me, once we receive the monies from the county, how that'll be handled against this note?
If it gets approved right now, we'll use it to, when we pay off, when we refinance the 8.5, or we'll refinance the band right now we have on St. John, we'll take that and reduce that balance.
Okay.
Then at that time. So as soon as we get that, we'll have a refinance. I don't know how soon it will be, but fairly soon.
Okay, so it won't be impacting this, it'll be impacting the other.
The money from Dei County, yes.
Right,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Goldborn. Aye. Alder Groupie. Aye. Alder Moore.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Corr.
Aye.
Alder Thomas.
Motion passes. Thank you, Jeff. I think I did sign everything I need to?
Yep.
Okay, moving back to item G, under unfinished business, item G1A, consideration of resolution 22-4-2551, award of contract for the 2022 South Monaco Road project put forth by the Public Works Director. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
Dan?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Seeing as though we're on the topic of the South Winnequa bid, I do have some relevant comments to add to what Mr. Bensley informed the council of at the beginning of the meeting. To confirm, he is right. We will need TLE to put the sidewalk in front of his parcel. The sidewalk will fit within the street right-of-way, but the TLE will be needed for a certain portion for installation of the sidewalk. So we'll continue to work with them as well as the other three property owners that we have in that corridor where we need TLE. So that will be an ongoing effort. We have until just after the July 4th holiday to take care of all of that work. That said,
The Public Works Committee did recommend approval of the South Winnequa bids at the April 6th committee meeting. And to summarize again, Wolf Paving and Excavating did provide the low bid in the amount of $891,701. And we also have the bid alternate number 1 that we're seeking approval of as well. And that is $86,875.20. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have for me on this.
Does anyone have any questions? Alder Groupie?
I'll just say thank you, and also to Strand for engaging in the conversation with the Benson family and being willing to kind of work toward a solution cooperatively. I appreciate that. And thanks for bringing it to the table.
Anyone else? Alder Wood?
Well, yeah, first of all, I'm just really glad to see we finally have the bid and it's below budget. I did have a question with regard to the concerns that the Bensleys raised. They had a couple of different options of how to address their land. Would either grading or building the retaining wall, we could do that within this contract that we're approving?
As of right now, the 5-to-1 slope that Mr. Bensley referenced is correct. I think there's some things that Strand is looking at, but if a retaining wall is needed, we're looking at about 1 block row in height. I know Josh is also looking at a minor curb head, if you will, that would go along the back side of the sidewalk. So that might alleviate some additional costs related to a retaining wall. He's still looking at that and seeing how it fits within the design and the street right-of-way limits. But if a retaining wall would be needed, at this time we did inform the property owner that it would probably have to be a private wall. We didn't intend to install a retaining wall here. The slopes do meet the industry standards, but like I said, we want to continue to work with the Bensleys. Josh thinks that he has a solution that will, I guess, provide a minimum impact, but he needs to crunch his numbers yet, and we need to coordinate with the Bensleys a little further. But just like the other 3 property owners, we're committed to doing this right. We want to have open lines of communication, and we have time yet. So we do have the surveys that were done. I know we went off the 2006 survey, I believe, that was done when the road was reconstructed last time. The Bensleys had a private survey done, and they installed new pins, and that is correct. So the sidewalk was adjusted to fit within that survey. That said, the sidewalk will fit within the street right-of-way. Some slope adjustments need to be made, but there is the possibility or potential where a 1-row block wall is needed. So that's what we have to work through.
Okay.
But in any case, we would still need a TLE to get that sidewalk in, and we're going to keep on communicating that as well.
All right, thank you.
And Dan, I've told the Bensleys I'd be happy to meet with them and with you and Josh if need be as well. So so I told them, and as you just said, we want to do this right and make sure that everybody's happy with how we're affecting their property,
Right.
if we can work that out. So, any other questions? I'll go for it.
Just so I'm clear, so the slope, is that in the terrace where they would place their like garbage bins, recycling bins, or if not, where is that?
Both areas. There's a slope area that we're adjusting the sidewalk to level out the terrace area. I think, but what Mr. Bensley is referring to is the sloped area behind the sidewalk on private property. So we have similar instances with the other property owners, the Whitties and the Mullmans. Like I said, we're going to make it right. I mean, that's why we need the TLE. So,
Thank you. And then I was wondering, how did that resolve with the Mulemans and the Whitties, or is that still ongoing as well?
the Whitties, we do have a negotiated agreement. We just have to get it on paper at this point. The Mullmans are still getting some private estimates on their side, and once they have all that information, we'll meet with them just like we did with the Whitties. And if it's more of a significant cost, we'll bring that forward to the city administrator if that signature is needed. But we feel that we can get that within the proper spending limits. In any case, we do have adequate budget to cover these expenses, so within the approved amount.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Any other questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas.
Aye.
Alder Goldberg.
Aye.
Alder Gruby.
Aye.
Alder Moore.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Clark.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving
Thank you.
on to item 1B, consideration of Ordinance 4-22-750, amending Chapter 216 of the Monana Code of Ordinances regarding erosion and stormwater control. This is put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Brad, are you going to address this?
Yeah, sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. At the last meeting, there was questions raised about erosion control applications and authority in terms of regulating shorelines and or work on shorelines. The Public Works Committee, just as an aside, approved this at their April 6th meeting, but with regards to that question, if you look at in the ordinance, chapter 216-7, item F, it does have language addressing possible shoreline erosion control applications and otherwise. This would usually regard single-family properties, and in that, with that, if there is no building permit applied to the site, then our Chapter 216 would apply to it. If there is a permit applied to the site, then the building permit, building inspector and the zoning department would regulate those sites. So just wanted to address that because that was a question from the last meeting. Other than that, everything is summarized in the memo that Darren Pope from Beervicker shared. That should be part of the packet tonight. It was a part of the packet last time. That Public Works Committee didn't raise any questions. So I'll get the questions that the City Council has tonight.
Questions, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Brad.
Great, thank you. Have a good night.
How is the...
Never know.
Well, baby's great.
Okay.
Baby's doing great. Cece had to get picked up from daycare today, the fever, so that's always great. So,
Oh,
another day in the Bruin household.
no. Yep. Stay with kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Item 1C, consideration of Ordinance 4-22-751, amending Chapter 335-8 of the Code of Ordinances regarding noise disturbing the peace, put forth by Alder Goforth and myself, and I will reiterate that I agreed to allow myself to be listed as second here for purposes of discussion. So, is there a motion to approve this?
We'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Or, Brian, do you want to?
Just a point of information for the council. Based upon the discussion at the last council meeting, there's some question about how do we deal with commercial, non-single-family residential construction noise versus single-family residential construction noise. And there seemed, and again, this was me taking a little bit of liberty, seemed to be a sense of wanting to separate those two different things. So in the information that's in your packet on page 86, I separated out commercial, institutional and multiple family residential construction noise from single-family detached residential construction noise. So the two separate sections in the ordinance. For commercial and basically non-single-family residential noise, this change in the ordinance would require the noise to stop at 7 p.m. For single-family detached residential, so single-family houses, that would remain at 9 p.m. It seems to address some of the questions and concerns that were raised at the last council meeting.
Thanks, Brian, that was great.
Any questions?
I'll go for it.
I'll go for it.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian, for that work. I did talk with a lot of folks about this, just, because it was a curiosity for me, and I just wanted to get input from the public. It sounds like an 8 p.m. is a very popular line of thought, but I did talk with some commission members that said that this specific item wasn't discussed in the commission meetings. So I felt like it's probably best, just because there are a lot of details, and as Alder Thomas pointed out, you don't want unintended consequences, that I felt that it was probably best to send this back to that commission for discussion, just to flesh it out and make sure it's all accurate and in the way we would like to see. So that would be something I would like to move to do, just send this back to commission for referral.
I don't think this actually sends it back to the commission, does it?
No, she'd be making a motion yet.
Yeah, so I wanted to let people continue to discuss, but I was going to make that motion at some point, if people want to continue to discuss.
So how do we handle this, Brian?
Should I make the motion right now?
An alder can make a motion to refer back to committee. If it gets a second and adopted by the council, then they would be automatically referred back to that committee. I'm assuming you mean public safety committees?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so that would go back to the committee, they'd have another discussion item and send it back to council once they're finished.
So you want another discussion beyond what Brian has done with?
Yeah, I think 9 p.m. just seems pretty late, because I think a lot of the challenges are with the single-family homes where they're using small, contractors, not union labor that's ending early. And so just in some of my conversations with people, having construction go till 9 p.m. when you're putting your kids to bed at 7:30, or you yourself go to bed early because your job starts very early, that 9 p.m. is just a little too disruptive when the time we all, many of us regroup in our backyards is kind of that period after 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So I think, our quality of life here in Monona is pretty fantastic. And I know there was a project that construction went on at home for 2 years, and that was really exasperating for those neighbors, because the home was like 20 feet within their property. So I would like to make a motion then to send this back to Public Safety Commission for more discussion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, and I'll just express that I am supportive of the motion as it currently stands with Brian's Administrator Gatto's adjustments. I do agree that there's no reason why it shouldn't be a 7 p.m. cutoff for commercial construction. And I do think, we often talk about making sure that there is committee approval and review prior to, deciding as a council how we would like to proceed. So I think it is an appropriate move to send it back for review.
Does anyone have anything to say about the Alder Goforth's?
Yeah, I would just say I would just say that to say that it wasn't discussed at the public safety meeting, I don't think is quite accurate. I mean, we didn't go through every word in this in the public safety meeting, nor would we in any situation. But to say that the time originally allotted was not, originally suggested was not discussed at the committee, I think is just inaccurate.
Oh, okay. I heard differently.
Alder Thomas.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I don't think it's possible to prevent people from making noise on their property. I mean, are we going to then say you can't mow your lawn after 7 o'clock at night or after 6 o'clock? And you're right, we didn't discuss this at public safety because that I'm aware of, we weren't made aware that there were any problems or any issues with this. So I'm perfectly happy to have it come back to public safety to discuss it, because I think this is one of those proposals that sounds good in principle, but the devil is always in the details, and when you find out what you are restricting people from doing, it's probably more than you realize if you do it till 7 o'clock. That's my take on it. So I'm happy to have it come back and have the committee discuss the merits of it, and people want to come and express concerns, pro or con, I think that's a good thing too.
Alder, go for it.
Thank you for that, Alder Thomas. I did want to say, I kind of fielded some people on this question, and 8 p.m. was the resounding wish for residents. So just to pass that along to you in my focus group study, a very informal focus group.
Thank you. Does anyone else? Alder Moore?
Yeah, I just, a couple of things come to mind to Alder Thomas's point. The question is, what does this apply to, among other things? Does that mean that somebody can't mow their yard at night? Because, construction or repair is all in the eye of the, who gets to define what's construction and repair? So, because as one example, I have a neighbor who chainsaws wood occasionally at night. Do I like it? No, but it happens twice a year. It's one night, maybe 2 nights, so I don't, so I guess, my point is that I do think that this could be a slippery slope, and I appreciate that there's certainly other noises that people could have on their, lawn that would be, or their property that would be a lot worse than somebody, obviously if they're, if they've got big heavy machines or doing whatever, it's one thing. But anyway, if Alder Thomas is chair of the committee, is something that somebody who wants to, she's comfortable with it going back. I don't have an objection to it, but I also have no problem because and I guess the second thing I would say is just as a friendly reminder, we all talk to residents. So, we all have our own focus groups, right? And we all talk to residents. We all engage residents in the community when we're thinking about these things. So, anyway, just wanted to.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of Alder Goforth's motion to return this to the Public Safety Committee, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Let's see. Item D, consideration of ordinance 4-22-752, amending chapter 263-6 of the Code of Ordinances to allow no mow may, put forth by Alders Wood and Groupie. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Doug, did you want to?
Don't really have a lot to add to the discussion last time. We had a good discussion at the Parks Board meeting with relative to what would or wouldn't be done in the parks, and I think basically the plan is to continue mowing. The areas that we mow now will continue to mow. Refresh. Alder Groupie help me out. I know we went back and forth with Jake on. He was going to identify a place to do like a demonstration plot, and I'm blanking on where.
So Woodland Park will be no mow for the month of May, and sustainability is working on marketing and signage, et cetera, to promote that and to give people an awareness of what it's about. The other plot is Outlet Mound on Ridgewood, and that is not only going to be no mow May, but we've been working on a Native American mound maintenance plan in parks that would cover that for, forever. So No Mow May will be another place where it'll be more obvious at Outlet Mound, but that will be something that we hope to just permanently not have large mowers on top of, and we're going to work on, native planting and other things of that nature. So.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes, thank you. Moving on to new business, item 2A, consideration of temporary Class B fermented malt beverage retailer's license for Gigi's Playhouse, Madison Dash for Down Syndrome. President Julie K. Burns, 4104 Monona Drive, Madison, Wisconsin, 53716, for the period of April 30th, 2022, and this is put forth by the License Review Committee and is started for immediate approval.
Move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Doug, did you want to address this too?
Sure, this is just a run using, let's see, that they're using the same course as the, what's,
The Monana 5K, I think, right?
yeah, no, Hoot Hoot Hustle. Anyway, it's just, so, yeah, it's just, and they're a new sponsor, so that's why we had them come to license review, and they've already had been talking to PD and to Parks, so they're, yeah, seem pretty ready to go.
Any questions?
I just want to comment that I think
grouping.
I think Julie is a wonderful human, and I think Gigi's is a great organization. I think we're very lucky to have it in our neck of the woods. So I'm excited to support them in this way.
Anyone else? I'll go for it.
I want to second that and also say that one of their organizers, Eric Salzwedel, is fantastic, and he runs a great operation. So I have a lot of confidence in this, and I think it's going to be a great success for them.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. We've taken care of items B and C. Item D, consideration of Resolution 22-4-2556, approval of General Development Plan, GDP for 112 and 208 Owen Road by Slindy Realty Company, put forth by the Plan Commission.
Mayor?
Yes?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Given that there are interest rates attached to this, is there a need, I would ask Mr. Slindy, is there a need for us for immediate action on this? Does it make any difference in your borrowing?
Well, I thought we were just discussing the GDP today.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
But it impacts how fast they can move ahead is my question.
well, time is of the essence, yeah. I would say that, yeah.
We're moving as quickly as we can. I mean, in some respects, we couldn't pick a worse time to do this.
So, you need to get it through here as fast as you can, or does a 2-week delay till the next meeting make any difference?
Well, I think it does in the sense that we're moving forward with the PIP plan on Monday with the Plan Commission, but I don't know how interworking governments work in that sense.
Well, the reason I ask is because we have the possibility of suspending the rules and taking this out of action and acting on it this evening. And I'm wondering if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
Is there a second?
Second?
Molly? Any I guess, can we have a lot of discussion on that? Any discussion? Doug?
Yeah, I can't support doing that. I just got some of the materials, the Plan Commission materials, today, and I just, I have questions. I just got the traffic impact analysis memo just now, so I'm not ready any way, shape, or form to vote on this tonight.
Anyone else have anything to say? Alder Moore?
Yeah, I think, obviously, as you'll hear from Doug in a minute, the Planning Commission was very favorable on this GDP, and with good reason, because the Slendies were very responsive to what we asked. But that being said, it's a big decision. Would represent a very big development, probably next to the riverfront, the largest development that we've done, and in toto anyway. And it seems to me that there are some other pieces of the puzzle that need to be put together or worked on by the city. My understanding is that the Slendies, among the things, are working with the CDA, correct?
Not as of yet. There's not been a tip ask that's been forthcoming, but they are working on it.
They're planning on it.
Yeah.
So that's just to say, if we were to speed up approval on our end, is that having? In the absence of having discussions with the CDA as of yet, would you really be approaching a bank and sticking a shovel in the ground any sooner? In the absence of any kind of decisions
Well,
from the CDA?
we've already had 4 or 5 conversations with banks. We're trying to keep this thing moving as fast as we can because there's so many variables here that we don't control. And I don't see any benefit to us in waiting personally. I don't speak for you guys, but personally I don't feel that way.
Alder Thomas?
Yeah, just a point. There is always a challenge because the Plan Commission wants fewer units, the CDA wants more, and there has been a negotiation process. And what this has done is dragged out the process and made the project more expensive to do from an interest standpoint. And I think we need to do what we can do if we like this project. I think it's incumbent upon us to try and expedite this so that they have the ability to do what the Plan Commission has asked them to do, given the increasing interest rates. That's the only reason I bring it up, because just like we passed rules because we know the interest rates are affecting our borrowing, they also affect the businesses borrowing as well. And we need to be cognizant of that. It's good enough for us, it should be good enough for them. That's my suggestion. If we don't have enough information, then I guess we can't do it. But if it's feasible, I think it makes sense to treat our businesses well. That's all. That's my comment.
Anyone else? Alder Moore.
Yeah, Kathy, I certainly respect and applaud your reference to treating our businesses well. However, I would disagree with your characterization that it's dragged out because of differences between the CDA or with the plan or whatever. It's the Slendies came to the Plan Commission for multiple pre-hearings, God bless them, in front of the Plan Commission so that we could keep it moving forward. And we were very enthusiastic about the plan, but again, this is the deciding body, and it's a big development. And as Brian just said, things are not resolved with the, my understanding. An application has not been made by the CDA, and it seems to me that, I don't know that, in the absence of any kind of CDA decisions, as an example, would it really make a difference?
And I wasn't being critical. It's the process.
Right.
That I was just referring to what the process is, that you sort of get caught and go between, and it's a negotiating process, but it takes time, and that time has cost money.
Right.
Let the council vote on it. If they're not ready, they're not ready. But I think we ought to consider it.
I guess, Jeff and Bert, my question to you would be, if I understand that we want to keep this moving. I'm 200% behind keeping this moving. The flip side of that coin is that, you know, I understand you've been talking to a lot of banks. I get that. But my point is that would you be locking in a specific dollar amount or interest rate or both with a bank if we were to do it tonight with a bank in the absence of any kind of discussion with the CDA or application with the CDA?
It wasn't my understanding that we needed CDA's approval or opinion on a GDP. I didn't know that was part of the process.
You don't, and that's not what she's implying.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about from not from approval of the development. I'm talking about from a financial standpoint. In the absence of any discussion at this point with the CDA,
Sure.
would you be signing a contract and locking in an interest rate with a bank, having no commitment whatsoever from the CDA?
I would say not.
Okay.
I would say we would.
So waiting 2 weeks is
So
not a
waiting 2
problem.
weeks is not going to be an issue then.
Well, let me just say, we've been doing this and attending meetings since December.
Right.
The more we can get accomplished, I mean, we're not just dealing with interest rates, we're talking about construction costs. I mean, my gosh, this project has taken a hit and we haven't even begun. So, but to your answer to your question, no, I don't see that we'd be signing any contracts with any banks. And all the lenders that we've talked to are scratching their heads saying, well, what's your timetable? So, well, here we are. So, Jeff, you have an opinion?
Well, I mean, when we started, interest rates were 3.25%, and if we're lucky, we'll get 4.25%, and that equates to $8,000 a month in additional borrowing costs. So, I don't know what else to say other than that. The math kind of speaks for itself.
I'd like to call the question so we can move forward with the vote and allow Doug to allow this presentation.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion does not pass. Mr. Plowman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. Tonight we're here to discuss the General Development Plan, the GDP, for the project at 112 to 208 Owen Road, commonly known as the USPS building and Village Lanes, over there on Owen Road. The Slindy Realty Company proposed a two-phase mixed-use project with ground floor retail and 175 rental units on the site that's just over 4 acres. This includes the proposed relocation of the existing USPS space once phase 1 opens. Can everybody on Zoom hear me? I just saw that message pop up.
I can.
You can? Okay.
Good.
The applicant also proposes between 35 and 50% of the units at phase 1 as workforce housing, which, just as a reminder, is defined really as allowing residents to live where they work. Includes professions such as teachers, police officers, bank staff, and these would be restricted to those earning between 60 and 80% of the area median income. The amenities the building include outdoor plaza decks, grills, fire pits, community and exercise rooms, as well as a pet run. The applicant does plan to visit the CDA with the TIF ask in the near future, and I'm working with them to coordinate that. This GDP was heard at the Plan Commission 4 times, in addition to the requested rezoning, which obviously has come back to the Council as well. The pre-hearings were in December and February, with 2 considerations in both March and April 11th. I'll get onto that detail in a second. The Plan Commission, during their discussions, focused extensively on the density of the project, evaluating that against adjacent properties. At March 14th, at that meeting, they did recommend approval to the City Council with a density of 40 units per acre, which would have taken 30 units, 30, off of the total unit count. The applicant chose not to pursue that, instead to resubmit for consideration at the April 11th meeting with edits and changes to the plan instead. These revised plans shifted the unit count from 191 units to 175, and also included greater step backs on the 4th floor, on the top floor of the massing, to help with some of the scale, especially at the street. The Plan Commission will be discussing the precise implementation plans, PIP, for Phase 1, which will be the former Village Lane site, the western of the two. That upcoming meeting on April 25th. As mentioned, a traffic impact analysis was conducted independently, and that had been discussed during the rezoning process. I will make sure that that is included in the packet for the second read, so that everybody has a copy of that. But the highlights of that were that there were limited impacts, accounting for the fact that there is about 15,000 square foot of retail currently, and so given the reduction in retail and sort of the AM and PM flows into the residential, it was deemed to have limited impact without the need for any more redesign. Level of service, particularly at the Owen Road and Monana Drive intersection, was deemed to be good, and it would have the capacity for something similar to this. So with that, the Plan Commission recommended unanimously to City Council that the GDP be approved. And as we've already heard, we're joined by the applicants, Bert and Jeff Slindy, as well, for any questions. And we have 2 members from the Plan Commission as well.
Alder Groupie.
I'm just curious if there is going to be sidewalk access now on that side of the road with the development going in?
Yes, so there will be sidewalk access. The existing, once construction is complete, the cross access will remain, but there will also be the sidewalk in front as well.
Great. I know it's heavily populated with senior living facilities, and I think that'll be of great benefit to residents. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually met with some of the Monona Hills residents, and they voiced, their comment about having accessibility and sidewalk access on the opposite side of the street. So we definitely want to include that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Alder Wood.
Will Strain be looking at the traffic impact analysis? Or I know we talked about that earlier, that might be a possibility.
It did come up at the Plan Commission meeting. The Commission, I had spoken with the applicant, I reviewed it and had a couple comments myself, questions and things like that when I saw it. At Plan Commission, the Commission were comfortable with the determination. They did use an independent engineering firm rather than civil or somebody like that could have done this, so they had a third party do it. It was mentioned that Strand could potentially review, rather than do another, that they could potentially review it. It was not something they recommended, but it could certainly be something we look into.
Yeah, and just a little thing about the traffic study. It didn't include any historical traffic at Village Lanes. So obviously that traffic doesn't exist right now. So they weren't able to measure that traffic mathematically. So they weren't able to take that into consideration. And it was still a lower amount of traffic than I think most people want to admit.
Yeah, I just glanced at it and saw the levels of service for the intersection are really good. So which I was really, I guess, it's not been my experience now using it. So, yeah, I guess but I haven't had a chance to look at it completely yet. So.
Just a comment on that traffic study as well. Doug, when you mentioned that initially, and Doug Allman recommended that we get a traffic study done. After this first council meeting, Jeff Slindy and I both discussed, and I said, jeepers, I can't imagine traffic's going to be worse than what Village Lanes produced. In my wildest dreams, I can't imagine that. However, what do I know? Maybe we need to do this. And so we talked about it, we agreed. And we also intentionally said, well, let's get somebody that we don't know that is completely a third party so that no one can question the validity of this. And we had just recently completed a transaction in Sun Prairie, and the firm that was recommended for the city of Sun Prairie we used, and they were completely independent. And just feel free to review it any way you want. It is what it is.
Yeah. Thanks, Bert. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Alder Moore?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the Plan Commission, after seeing this, this, as was indicated by Doug numerous times, was very pleased this last time around, and I want to commend the Slindys again for working with the Commission. It's safe to say, for all intents and purposes, among other things, Chris Holmberg was virtually speechless. Doesn't happen very often in a plan commission meeting. But we all, felt very positively, and frankly, I want to also not only thank Jeff and Burt, but also thank their architects, KBA, because it was really, for those people that are interested in development in Monona, I think the last presentation that they did, it showed the Plan Commission kind of the before and the after, walking through the development in terms of all the changes that were made to the massing and to the articulation of the building. I know somebody who learns visually, I think all the commission members felt that was also kind of a really excellent way to present it to help us over time see the changes that have been made. So again, the Plan Commission was very favorable.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. It will be on the agenda on May 2nd.
Okay, thank you.
Item E, consideration of Resolution 22-4-2562, authorization to apply for the Land and Water Conservation Law-Con Fund Grant Program for San Damiano, put forth by the City Administrator, and this is start for immediate approval.
Move to suspend the rules and take this item out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Brian?
Thank you. This is a very similar resolution to one you adopted last year at around the same time. We were not successful in the Law-Con application last year, in part because there were more demands for the money than they had money available. We've had multiple conversations with the DNR about this funding cycle. Again, they can no way commit to any applicants being successful, but they did recommend that we do put our name in the proverbial hat again to see what happens with the funding. So we've been working with MSA, who helped put together the first round, made some edits to that, and we'll be submitting that with Council's blessing tonight before the deadline of May 1st to see if we're successful this time around.
Alder Coor and then Alder Wood.
Good. So did DNR, did they score the grant last time, and did they provide comments that we could address, or?
Yeah, I mean, they did score it last. I don't think they were able to score it last time. Their comments were that they liked the application. It's more of a timing issue because we know that we are going to embark upon a master plan for the property. We don't have a master plan done at this time, so that is something that does impact our application. A lot of the projects that got funded last year were more for, I guess, what I'd call active recreation uses, so ball fields, those type of hard recreation, which is not, that's a conversation we'll have with the community, over the next, year and a half as we go through our process. But in communications with the DNR staff, they said, it's still, because it basically costs us nothing to put our name back in the hat, they would recommend that we do it again. See if the JFC or whoever is doing the funding and scoring, if they shift their priorities this year compared to last year.
Is this JFC?
Not the JFC.
No, sorry. Yeah, this one, no.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think
we need to be doing it.
Yeah.
Alder Wood.
Well, yeah, I guess that was my question, if this is for staying under the magic 250,000.
That's Mills Nelson, and that we did last time around. We stayed under that 250 threshold.
Okay. So this could be...
This, I believe, if I remember correctly from last year, this is federal money that is a pass through the DNR. We had put in like 1.2 million, I think is what it was, so that will be our ask again.
Anyone else? Alder, go for it.
Do you know how many funds they have to distribute? Or how much?
I'd have to look. I don't know what the number is for this year. I know last year's funding cycle, I think they had, it's like 3.5 million.
Okay.
And they only ended up funding, I think, 3 projects. So it's yeah. I would classify it as a long shot, but since the bar of entry is pretty low, better to have our name in than not have our name in.
Absolutely. We tick a lot of the boxes, so I would hope they would be considered a strong candidate.
Aldermore?
Yeah, I want to point out, because this is my my business conservation, that the Law-Con program ordinarily, again, it's federal money that comes is passed through DNR, and ordinarily it is reserved for exactly what we're talking about with Damiano, which is to say less development, more conservation, more natural areas, natural preserves, that kind of thing. But in the state of Wisconsin, it's exactly the opposite of that, which is to say the state of Wisconsin peeled off of some of this federal money to create the stewardship fund. And so they used the stewardship fund for the natural areas, and they used the walk-on money for more traditional recreation. So the other 49 states or 48 states would be different, but that's the way it is in Wisconsin. It wasn't the original intent of the federal funds, however. Doug?
So then we might, if we don't get it this time, once we have the master plan done, we might be in a better spot to apply again.
Yes, although we would not be able to apply for acquisition costs. So this money is to use to divide on the cost of acquisition.
Right.
There's a letter of retroactivity that's good for 2 years. This would be the end of that 2-year cycle.
Okay.
We previously last year asked the DNR for their approval to extend our letter of retroactivity. They, for whatever reason, denied that. The DNR staff is asking again, the folks in the DNR that need to be asked. So we should hear from them hopefully in a couple weeks as to whether or not our second request to extend that has been viewed favorably, and if it does, then it'll extend our ability to apply for lock-on money for acquisition costs, separate from operational or capital-related costs.
Thank you.
Alder, go for it.
Am I right in thinking that this is a grant we could only receive once?
I don't know. I don't think there's a restriction on applying if you receive the money again, but I'm going to tell you, if you get it once, the demand is such that you probably would be well behind in the queue.
Okay, yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to reports of committees and commissions. Guess Alder, go forth.
Not a lot to report. We have a DEI committee meeting on Thursday. Transit, we were unable to meet this week, or last week. Sorry, it's a blur. Last week. So Alder Groupie and I have kind of, I don't want to steal your thunder here.
Take it away.
We're on hold. We're still at the table, and we'll be there to support the new alders stepping in if that needs to happen. So we're planning on a meeting. I believe was that April 27th.
Next Wednesday is. Next Wednesday.
That would be the 27th.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Alder Groupie.
I was grateful to Parks last week for making some concessions about No Mow May. Very grateful also to the Sustainability Committee for being willing to step up and take that on. For those of you who are not aware, we are going to be hopefully publishing some articles in the Herald online and doing some PSAs. I'm reporting one tomorrow about No Mow May just to help get the word out and get ahead of it because time is relatively short. I don't know if this is like the time for it. This is my last council meeting, as it is for some others tonight. And I won't, belabor it. I won't get too in the weeds, but just to express significant gratitude to city staff and to everybody on the council for the past 4 years. I've been so lucky to have had the privilege to participate in this process, be elected, learn how local government works, how we can improve it, how we can use it for progressive and positive impacts in the community. And I think we've done some pretty important work, especially over the past 2 years, and I'm very grateful to have been a part of that. And I will just say, we talk a lot about systems problems, which are very pervasive and exist everywhere, at every level of government across our country. But individual effort still matters, even though there are these big things that we need to topple and dismantle, brick by brick. So to know how to be involved, to be engaged is really important. If the Binsleys hadn't come forward to talk about how their property might have been affected, maybe that project never would have been altered to accommodate them. If I hadn't raised my voice once or twice in the council to propose an amendment or to make a change to an amendment, we would still be on the same path. And so I think And that goes for everybody, not just for me. So I guess I just encourage everybody to get involved if they can, if they're able, because I think individual effort matters and makes a difference. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Alder Moore.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things. Molly just mentioned No Mow May. The Sustainability Committee is cranking on No Mow May. I know I'll be participating, and there will be a variety of things coming out around that. And I also want to point out that on the 23rd, which is Earth Day, there'll be, again, the recycling event at Ahuska Park, which goes from 8 to noon. For any kind of electronics. There's a new flyer up on the city's homepage that details what's accepted in that event and what's not just the hours. It gives the details of what's accepted there. I encourage everybody to come out. It's a no-touch event, which is to say we'll have volunteers there to unload your car for you. With thanks to Alder Groupie, we're also going to be doing some pickups of seniors that might have items that can't make it to Ahuska in coordination with the Senior Center. So that, again, is on the 23rd, on the Saturday from 8 to noon. I think that's it. Sorry? Yes. Well, as part of the cleanup day that Parks and Rec is doing for all of our parks on the 23rd, San Damiano will certainly be participating in that as well. Friends of San Damiano is organizing volunteers to help us with might be considered a second annual cleanup of San Damiano. And there's a sign up genius and information on that on the Friends of San Damiano website. And I know Parks and Rec has information out about all the parks, the plans for the parks that day.
Alder Wood.
Let's see. Well, parks, we discussed No Mow May, which we already mentioned that earlier, and also receiving a donation of not a donation, but, well, yeah, a new storage shed with Home Talent Baseball to allow them to place that there. With the San Damiano Steering Committee, I don't know if you were going to talk about that later, just that we're in the process of reviewing 7 RFP or responses that we got that are all really high quality. And MPO, as you know, we discussed the flex lane, and I sent out some information on that if anybody wanted to geek out over how that may or may not work. It's not open yet, so I guess I would ask. I wasn't a big advocate of it in the beginning. I'm still not necessarily, but I think we need to wait and see how it actually works in practice. And then you can not like it if you don't like this. And I just wanted to take off a little bit on what Alder Groupie said, the impact of one person can have, and I think the impacts that the 3 alders who are leaving us tonight, I think, are a good example of, what impact you can have on your community by putting yourself forward. And I would just, really sincerely thank all 3 of you for the work and the efforts that you put in on behalf of the community.
Levy Board meets tomorrow. I have no other committees that I can report on. I would reiterate what Molly had said. I encourage the community to remain engaged. I am very grateful to have been able to serve these past 5 years. I did want to take a moment to thank the staff. I can't say this enough, how wonderful the staff is that we have at Monona. They, are all in and go above and beyond on a daily basis. And I guess I encourage the community to recognize that as well. Thank your public works people for cleaning your streets. Thank our fire and police. They show up day or night. Our fire and EMTs are often volunteers, members of the community. all of the folks in City Hall put in their all the time. I'm grateful for all of that they do. But yes, this has been a pleasure, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Alder Thomas.
I've no committee reports, but for the three of you who are leaving us, I thank you for your service. I've learned from all of you. The community has benefited from it. I think these have been, the last 2 years have been, because of COVID, have been, in all of my years, the most challenging times to try and serve on the council. I think it's difficult when you can't get together and establish good commitment and good relationships. So you've served during a really trying time. And let me remind you that you can always come back, because I'm living proof of that. So thanks for everything you've done. We're very grateful.
Thank you, Kathy.
Ma'am?
Yes. Sorry, as long as everybody's going to be extending gratitude, I didn't know if we were going to do that as part of our committee report. So
And of course, I kind of forgot to do the diversity, the sustainability stuff tonight. But
that's right. But I do want to extend my gratitude, Christy, Molly, and Jennifer as well.
And Brian, miss you so much. Miss you so much.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go there. I was going to let the mayor go there, but first anyway. But I also want to extend my gratitude to the three of you and thank you for your collegiality and your wisdom and your expertise and everything you brought to the table. It takes for the other thing that a lot of residents probably don't know is how much time it saves. And how to do it well, I think probably people underestimate. I know a lot of times when I'm talking to people, when I say I'm on 4 different committees, like just today, as a matter of fact, and people are sometimes shocked. So, I really appreciate everything that the three of you have done. And I know you're not going away, and you're going to probably be sitting on the appearance section. We'll just expect to see you. Thank you for your service.
okay. City Clerk, do you have anything to? Chief?
Yes. Thank you, Council. I'll just start by thanking our public safety team. We've had a challenging couple weeks. I come from working for the second largest city in the state where we have a lot of resources. So I managed a crime scene unit. I managed a team of detectives. I managed some really skilled and capable folks that worked in a large team setting. I am impressed by the work that public safety team is doing here, particularly the police department, with significantly fewer resources. We don't have a violent crime unit. We don't have a property crime unit. But we're responding, unfortunately, we're working to solve that, but we're responding to some pretty horrific calls, including a couple of attempted homicide weapons offenses in the last couple weeks. We live in a safe community, and I want folks to understand that you should feel safe, but we have work to do to feel even safer. Not everyone feels safe, and that's my job and all of our jobs to make sure that folks do have a sense of safety and security. But I want to acknowledge that with limited resources, there is good work being done and some accountability to those who are committing these crimes that are being made by members of your police department. So kudos to them, and I thank them every day. And I appreciate the recognition that all of you have provided in my short time period thus far as well, because it goes a long way. So thank you. Next, I just want to give a plug for, speaking of safety, for Home Safety Nights that we're hosting here at this very room on the 21st of April this week at 6:30. Home Safety Night is being sponsored by the Madison Area Crime Stoppers. It's the first event that they're having, and they specifically requested to have it in Monona and to partner with Monona. Some of it may have to do with the new guy, but I think a lot of it just has to do with sort of the trends that are happening sort of on the east side of Madison in general with respect to property crimes, some of the scams that we're seeing on the increase to targeting some of our senior population and others. So we hope to accomplish is to offer tips, pointers, and I'll report on some trends that are happening regionally and nationally, and there might be some giveaways that Crime Stoppers is going to provide as well. So again, that's April 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Monona Library in this very room, the municipal room. So if you're able to attend or spread the word, please do so. And alders and incoming alders, I believe I sent you an email today, so if you can check that. If you haven't, that's got more information on that you can give a plug to. I'd appreciate it. And lastly, although it's important for me as police chief to do these report outs, and I will try to keep them not short, but regularly attend, I'm really here also to give a shout out to all of you who are departing. And I just want to say that, over 2 decades of working in public service and wearing a uniform and being a commander and having lots of communication and encounters and a working relationship with our elected officials and our city leadership, I brag about this place every day. Check me on that, I do. I found the gem, as I tell my former colleagues and some of my former associates in the city of Madison, political spectrum, I'll say. You're good people who are well-intentioned and are not shy to share opinion, which I appreciate because I'm the same person. We've not always agreed, and that's okay, but we're civil. You take the time to listen, and more importantly, you care about, as you mentioned here today, city staff who are public servants. I will acknowledge that you have hired through the city employment a lot of folks who could be getting paid a lot more money for doing what they do, but that's not why they're in the job. They're in the job because they care. And I think that it's good to hear, as I mentioned before, your acknowledgement of that, because again, it goes a long way. So thank you for saying thank you, because it goes a long way. And for the alders and our fearless city administrator who are leaving, gone but not too far away, within arm's reach, thank you for sort of walking the new guy along, showing him the ropes. I very much appreciate that, and I will miss all of you. And for the incoming alders and those of you who I have not met for coffee, I don't do coffee, you all know that, or for a hot chocolate in a while, let's meet. And I look forward to working with the new council in the years to come. So, and then lastly, I will just say I will be practicing my Spanish in Sudamerica. Estoy en viaje. I'm going on vacation next week, so I'll be doing a little Alder Moore traveling, trying my best to imitate. But our good fearless leader, Assistant Chief Duman, will be at the helm and will be your resource for the police department while I'm away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm just going to go next and let Administrator Gatto go last. I too would like to thank the alders who are leaving. This is your last meeting, the three of you. When I think back to the last 5 years, it's been pretty crazy. I've listed, I know various things I've put out about Brian leaving it, just listing what has happened in the city in the last 5 years. Administrator hirings and floods and pandemics and racial related incidents and new buildings, and it's been a lot, and I really appreciate all the time and efforts you've all put in on it. And Brian, we are really going to miss you. You've just added so much to the city, and you've been a great leader for the last 3.5 years. However, I do have your phone number and your email. And I'm sure I may be using it occasionally, but I'll try to restrain myself. So we appreciate everything you've done and wish you all the best of Middleton. It's a wonderful opportunity for you. So good luck going forward.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate those kind words. And for those of you that have come to know me over the last couple of years, you know that I'm a classic introvert, so hearing you say nice things about me is touchingly excruciing. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me, but I really do appreciate it and all of that. I just have a couple quick things I wanted to say. First, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve the residents of Monana for the past 3+ years. This community, to their credit, really welcomed me with open arms and really supported my professional growth over the years, and that's not gone unnoticed by me. As I've often told my administrator colleagues elsewhere in Dane County and in Minnesota, this is one of the reasons why I've enjoyed my time in Monona. The residents here truly embody the small town character that we reverence when we talk about what makes Monona a special place, and you don't find that everywhere. And I have colleagues that don't have that. So I appreciate the residents that, as they say in Parks and Rec, that they care loudly at you. And so, we appreciate you making contact with us as city staff to acknowledge what we do on a daily basis. To the mayor, to the city council, members of the CDA, and the other committees that I've had the pleasure to work with over the last couple of years, thank you for the opportunity to really work on some amazing projects, such as the purchase of San Damiano, planning for new civic facilities that will last this community for generations to come, and for the Riverfront redevelopment project. I could not have asked for a better collection of individuals to work for. I hope that I brought as much value to you and to the residents as you provided to me over the last couple of years. And lastly, to my city staff colleagues, you have my endless gratitude for all of your assistance and support over the last couple of years, particularly the most challenging 2 years that we all probably have experienced in local government with the pandemic and other things going on. I will truly miss working with all of you, making the city great. And as I will just be down the road, as the mayor mentioned, I look forward to stopping by on occasion to see how this community continues to grow and change. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, I think that's everything we had, except we have an organization meeting tomorrow night for people who are continuing on and new council members at 5:30. I'll see you then, and I know at least a couple of you are going to stay involved with the city who are leaving and volunteer process, so that's great too, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. So thank you all very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
One second.
All in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.